Where can this journey of our own self-belief break down, and why, Zoe?
Ooh, how does it break down? Oh, there's so much that knocks that as well, isn't there? Of that challenge, and I guess it's how you overcome the challenge as well, isn't it? When you get that knock, what do you do with that knock? And I guess that's resilience, a little bit of using that when that challenge comes in or when that knock comes in. How do you use that? What do you do with that? And I think sometimes it's healthy. So I think sometimes it's healthy to have a little dose of challenge or a little dose of questioning. You know, I think it can be really easy to be almost overconfident that you then start to miss things. Or I think it's good to have a healthy measure of your own challenge, but I think if you don't challenge yourself, that's when an external challenge becomes more of an issue. I think if you're used to challenging yourself and checking and testing and being your own critical thinker about what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you show up and all of those things that are important in life as much as they are in business, if you're used to being your own critical thinker, then somebody else's opinion or thoughts or feedback comes in as part of that process rather than being the only thing that you are hearing. So I think it does depend on what the knock is, but also then what you do with that knock, because it's also the intention behind the knock as well. I think sometimes what the knock is, when you explore what's happened, say for example it's negative feedback, or quite often to that person who's given the feedback, they're not giving negative feedback, they're not trying to knock your confidence or anything like that, they're trying to help you to see things differently. So if we use certainly your world in terms of being more inclusive, most people like to think, whether that's the reality or not, most people like to think that they're aware and they're of other people and how to do the best for the people who work for them or their customers, their clients. And if they get feedback that suggests otherwise, that can feel very negative and it can feel like a criticism. But quite often, the person who's giving that feedback just wants them to be better and do better. So it's not saying that all of the things that they're doing already don't count. It just means we just want one more thing that would then unlock for other people that it's being able to take that step back and say, it feels like a knock, but what is it? Like, what is the challenge? How can I learn from it? How do I tap into that resilience, if you like, to be able to make this a positive and use this as a way to take another step forward on that journey, if you like?
I think it's the ability to reflect, isn't it? And sometimes we're very much everybody. We're very much, like you say, you get constructive criticism. That's fine. It's dealt in the with the best intentions to help us kind of grow, and it's often from people that are more experienced, more experienced business owners or people that have been through it and know and have been out the other side. But it's often very challenging for people, let alone business people, to sit back and reflect on what's been given to them, what opportunity it is. In a way, that constructive criticism, what that is an opportunity to grow and to sit back and look at it for what it is, and not be reactive and not be sensitive, oversensitive to that, and be really reactionary to that in a kind of immediate way. Rather sit back and like I say, just look at it for what it is, and take it apart, but with a positive sort of outcome, hopefully, with doing that and going through that process of doing it. And that's often the hardest thing, because what we believe in and what often people are trying to help and help us to grow and support us with might be our baby, might be our thing that we are passionate about, and it comes from a really inside place, doesn't it? And no matter what the intentions are, we can often just react in that whole kind of hearted way of, oh gosh, but it's my baby, and I thought I was doing really well. So I think that's a big challenge, no matter who or what you do, to sit back and to do that in a very calm, collected way.
Yeah, one of the questions that I quite often ask people is on that reflection, to separate the fact from the feeling. So what's the factual feedback that's coming through here?
Yeah.
What do you feel about it? And can you separate the two? Because it's okay to have an emotional response to something. That's very, very normal.
Yes.
But what you don't want to do
Yes.
is for that to influence how you respond to that feedback. And you want to be able to separate how you feel about it, to take the learning from what somebody is ultimately taking the time to share with you. And if you would like to think that for most people it's from a place of good intention. It's not often that the intended consequence is to upset you. Quite often it's more, well, you should know this, or we want you to know this, or we want you to do something about this. But yeah, it's separating the fact. What is it? And again, I think the other step back is to recognize that quite often it is simply somebody else's opinion, and it may be different to yours because they've had a different experience or they've got a different world viewpoint, and it's not a fact. It is simply a difference of opinion, and you can acknowledge that, you can accept that. You might choose not to do anything with that, but you now know that a different opinion exists out there that you can take into consideration next time you do the thing. I think
Exactly.
that different people have different opinions, and there's not always a right or wrong or a fact, or I think sometimes people think that if somebody else has a different opinion, well, am I wrong? It's like, is there a right and a wrong, or is this just a different perspective that you are now aware of that you might not have been aware of before? So
a different perspective. Yeah, absolutely. Different perspective, a different way of looking at something. And that can be really, really, can't it? Because sometimes you might not have thought a certain way about or approach something in a certain way that someone else has looked at and seen in a different way and is just saying, well, think of it this way.
Yeah. Again, if you put this into the context of your world, so when I deliver programs, I always say to people at the beginning of the program, I've done my very best to make this as inclusive as possible, and I have tried to think of everything, but there is a strong possibility I might have missed something. So when you're on the program, if there's something that I can do differently that helps you to get more from the program, please let me know, because I want you to get the most from this program in the time that you're on it. Now, I've tried to put it through all of the different filters, different perspectives, that, if I've got somebody different. And over the years, I've had lots of different people on the program who've offered some feedback to say, actually, if you did this, that would be really helpful. I'm like, great, I can do that. But I can't put myself in everybody's shoes to know what everybody needs. But what I can do is ask and invite that feedback. And I think, to go back to the original question, I think sometimes it's good to preempt the knock and invite the knock, which almost sounds counterintuitive, but I think sometimes it can be really helpful to invite the feedback, to be more proactive about it and say, right, tell me, what can I do better? What could I do differently? What could I do more of? What am I not doing that I could do that would make this even better? But it's that growth mindset, isn't it? Of feedback isn't a criticism. Feedback is that opportunity to be better. And I think the same with a knock. Is it a criticism? Is it a negative, or is it the opportunity to explore things in a different way and improve?